This is the G87 M2, which we featured on a previous episode, but is this better? Now that is the sound of an S54 engine in my BMW Z4M Coupe, which incidentally I will be featuring on this channel shortly. So if you haven't subscribed, please hit that subscribe button now. Has this new M technology dialed everything out? Well, that's the question that I've got today, because whilst I absolutely adore the G87 M2 and I still happen to think it is the best value for money brand new M car you can buy right now, is it as good as old school M? I'm beginning to doubt whether this car makes you feel as special as some of the old M cars do, and that's really what I want to try and get to the bottom of. The Z4M Coupe is a two-seater M car featuring the S54 engine. This, on the other hand, is a G87 M2 with, well, a lot more brake horsepower, a newer engine, and it has got a turbocharger or two. I'm not talking about outright performance, because this will run rings around the Z4M Coupe all day long. It's more about how it makes you feel. This is new school, that is old school. That's naturally aspirated and revs all the way up to 7,900 RPM and sings, whereas this is muted. Now, the very first time you jump into one of these cars and you drive it, you will think, oh my God, this is a high-performance sports car with an incredibly visceral feel. And when I say visceral, I mean it engages every single sense and it needs effort to drive. It's not like a Porsche Boxster 986, 987 or a 911 from this era. This is a completely different animal. It requires a very different approach to driving it properly and getting the best out of it. It doesn't conform to the standard rules of modern performance cars. It needs effort, and you have to put the effort in to learn the car, to drive it properly, and to feel it. And once you do start to feel it, it makes so much sense. I would say to anybody who says that this car isn't one of the best M cars, you haven't really given it time, you haven't gelled with it, and you haven't made the effort. You need to sit down, spend time with it, give yourself a good talking to, and talk to the car, and then see how it communicates back with you. This is a wonderful, wonderful piece of engineering. Now, on the outside, this car sounds great. You know, it goes past you, you hear it crackle and burble, you stick it in M2, you open those exhaust flaps, and it gives you a nice feeling on the outside. But on the inside, it's a little bit too muted, and that's the issue that I have with these newer generation of M cars. I find them too lacking in that area, and I think that special feeling that a car with an S54 engine has seems to have been just diluted out. It's been dialed out almost. You wouldn't even know that you're actually driving an M car at times. It's that well insulated. And yes, you can play with the steering wheel controls and the buttons, and you can open up flaps in the exhaust and bring in more sound through the artificially played stuff through the speakers. Sorry, but it's not the same. Have BMW gone a step too far in making these cars too muted for this new generation? Haven't forgotten how to build performance cars, that's for sure, because the performance of these cars is still exceptional. It's fast, it's sure-footed, it's assured, it can keep up with pretty much anything on the road. But how does it make you feel inside? That's the real question. Does it still give you that sense of driving something incredibly special? Or is this car becoming more and more and more almost sort of sanitized, made very, very clinical? It's more of a scalpel than it is, say, a chainsaw. And if you like that sort of stuff, if you like that thrill of a car that makes your adrenaline rush, then, you know, are these new M cars really the cars for you? Now, I've been a BMW M fan for many, many years. In fact, I've been a BMW fan since I was 10 years old, and my father had a really nasty accident in one and survived because of the strength of the car. And that's what got me hooked into BMWs in the first place. I'm not trying to denigrate BMW in any way. I hadn't driven my Z4M Coupe for several months. It'd been in storage, and I hadn't driven it since before Dhroov got this car and I first got the opportunity to drive a G87 M2. And I've got to say this, having driven that Z4M Coupe has really opened my eyes to what an M car should be. Now, there will be a review of the Z4M Coupe coming out shortly, and when that does, I'll put a link to that on the screen as soon as that comes out and in the description of this video. But it'll give you an idea or a flavour for what old school M cars really feel like. Now, of course, the Z4M Coupe is very different in that it is totally analog. There is no adaptive suspension in that car. There is no turbocharger in that car. It's a very, very straightforward, straight shooting, straight fighting affair, whereas this car has a completely different character. Things like just the weight, the size of the car, the modern technology that's available now, the modern mapping, a newer engine, it's got adaptive suspension, it has all the things that the Z4M Coupe does not have. And maybe that's what sanitized this car, you know, it's actually become so powerful and so different, if you like, in that respect. Both are rear-wheel drive, both have limited slip differentials, and both have a manual gearbox. That's all the same. But when you put those recipes together, you'd expect the cars to be very similar. The Z4M Coupe is a very different animal to this. The way it sounds, the way it moves, the way it goes, it's very, very old school and completely analog. Whereas this, yes, whilst it has a level of analogness to it, it has a level of maturity that I think BMW have either engineered in on purpose or have done it inadvertently, and I don't really quite know what's happened there. But that question that I asked earlier, has the essence of M gone or is it still there? I always say, you know, and you're probably sick of hearing me say that, you know, cars are like machines that you drive with your bodies and you feel with your senses and all that kind of stuff, and I say that very often, but I say that because I really, really do mean it. This car, yes, you do feel it through your senses, there's no question about that, but is that because of its sheer performance and its sheer abilities rather than how it makes you feel, just because of its rawness or its pedigree or anything like that? And I don't know whether there's an answer to that question or not. If you're spending £70,000 and you're buying a performance M car from BMW, you want it to sound like an M car, you want it to feel like an M car, you want it to go like an M car. And yeah, compared to all the modern M cars that are out there, it's brilliant. But when you compare it to an old school M car and you hear a naturally aspirated engine revving all the way up to 7,900 RPM, feel steering, which has no electrical assistance at all, it's actually hydraulic, then you start to realize that there is something that's gone a little bit amiss. Now, you might call it progress, and this car might be Scalpel-like in the way it does things, but every now and again you want that sledgehammer, and that's where old school M really delivers. The character, the soul, the engine. I don't want to hear that pumped through speakers in the car. I want to hear and feel that engine. That's what old school BMW M gives you. That's where the difference is, and that's where I'm of the opinion that old school M is better than new school M. I'd love to know what your take on this is. If you've experienced both types, please let me know in the comments what you think. I'd love to know. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do so. If you'd like to watch me and Dhroov driving around in this car when he first got it and the little journey that he went through, then please click on the tiles that appear in front of you now. Otherwise, thank you very much indeed for watching, and I will catch you on the next one.